New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here on a Friday evening on the New Thought Media Network. It's 5 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone, and that means it is time for the good news. Our weekly opportunity to get together, share in some of the good news stories that I have found across the interwebs all throughout the week, and create a vibration of good feelings as we head into the weekend and as we head into the rest of the and well, I guess I'm feeling a little redundant as we head into the weekend. So let's kick it off with our top story tonight: the Ukraine and Airbnb. Yes, I know you may not have known that there were Airbnbs available in Ukraine. And this is the fun part. I caught wind of this earlier in the week and have been following the story. People are jumping onto Airbnb and booking stays with people in Ukraine. Now, there's a couple of things we need you to know about this. Number one, none of them really have any intention of ever going there to redeem that stay. It is a great way to get money in the hands of locals quickly and as quickly as possible. And there are a couple things you want to know. Number one, you on Airbnb, you have the opportunity to kind of look at the how long that account has been created. How long have they been a host? Do your research. Yes, there are unscrupulous people that have already figured this out and already created fake profiles and are already trying to take advantage of people. We're going to sit in a place of knowing that you find the perfect person and the perfect people. If you decide to do this, just do a little due diligence, look in and look at how long they've been on Airbnb, and there's other telltale signs you can tell if it's a real person or not. So far, well, not so far, because in just a few days, the Globe contributed over $2 million in bookings. And Airbnb is on board with all of this. Their CEO is very supportive of these efforts, so much so that they have waived all the booking fees for both you and for the people in Ukraine receiving the booking. So this is a free a way to move money from here to Ukraine, to put it in the hands of people that need it the most, and do it for free. No fees associated, except maybe if you pay by PayPal already, depending on your side. But ultimately, they're taking all the costs out and absorbing all those costs. Kudos to Airbnb. And this isn't the only thing they do. Now, Airbnb also has a supporting donation arm, Airbnb.org. If you hadn't heard of Airbnb.org, they really have been working for quite a long time. Quite a while. We partner with our communities to offer housing in emergencies, from natural disasters to COVID-19 to now the crisis in Ukraine. And they're opening homes and offering up to 100,000 people have been housed, temporary housing. This isn't long-term, but it's temporary housing to over 100,000 people since 2012. across a number of different things. Now, again, their CEO has made a commitment to expand this through this Ukraine experience and this invasion of Ukraine. So please, folks, if you're in the market, go ahead and support Airbnb. Jump onto their website, airbnb.org. Our wonderful producer Diego has put that website up there on the screen for you. We'll drop it in the chat box as well, and check out what they're doing to be a good citizen of the planet. To be a good citizen of the planet, to support and do what we've got to do. All right, continuing on tonight. If those that have followed, well, thank you, Colleen. Yes, it is good news. And there's another thing I want to remind you. I almost forgot. Oh, thank you, Colleen. You reminded me. There's another piece here that is happening as well, and that is a similar idea that you can do on Etsy. Now, this one takes a little bit more work, and you've got to dig in a little bit deeper, and it's but it's same similar system. And what we're doing is we're going to Etsy looking for local Ukrainian artists and buy their digital downloads. What Diego is showing you on the screen is a number of images that New Thought Media Network purchased recently from a number of Ukrainian artists, including a woman there and her daughter, and they are creating digital art. Here's the thing: you don't want to buy a T-shirt because that obviously isn't getting shipped out of Ukraine. And you don't want to buy a magnet, and you don't. All those things are, and a lot. That's where the real graph is happening as well. Plus, there's costs involved and shipping delays, and the artist doesn't get paid right away. With digital downloads, as soon as you download that image, the artist gets paid. And Etsy allows you to do some chatting with the artists as well. I've created a number of new relationships already. You know, it's not like we're chatting all day long, but the artists are able to say thank you. You're able to say hello to the artist ahead of time. Make sure that you feel comfortable that it's a real person. And I have found artwork from everywhere from $1 to $10 or $12 for digital downloads. Really fun stuff. Something you can check out as well. And here on New Thought Media Network, we are looking for a way, and we're going to find our way to help display that and share that with you as well, our listeners, on what we do here. This is a global broadcast network. We're not here to live in a bubble. We're here to share this good news and the positive vibrations of a positive philosophy across the planet. And if that means picking up a few dollars worth of digital art from the Ukraine, we do that today. And tomorrow we'll do what comes tomorrow. All right. Here's a really cool, fun story that I found. Solar panels built from waste crops, making energy without direct light. Now, this seems to go against all that we know about solar energy, but everything seems to check out. We've got a Filipino inventor, young man, who is inspired by his grandmother's use of every little bit of vegetable oil or vegetable matter or vegetable distillate that she would create in her house as he was growing up. And he put all of this together and thought, how can we do this to help create energy? Andre McGew, I do hope I'm saying that properly, sir. I'm probably getting it wrong. Carve Andre McGew, exactly is his name. He's the 2020 Dyson Foundation Sustainability Award winner, 29 years old. This is pretty wild stuff. Now, there's a video in the article itself, in the piece here itself. We'll make sure to leave links in the show notes for you to check this out. And this story is over on the goodnewsnetwork.org, one of our favorite places to find good news stories. McGee calls it the Aureus, Aureus. Looks a lot like Aurora Borealis. But the idea is that taking vegetable waste, creating this polymer, you can kind of see it there, the green plastic. It's moldable, it's shapeable, and the polymer takes UV light, and so it's a polymer sheet, and it's it takes the light and pushes it towards the edge of the panels. And then that light is then visible. So it's taking the UV light that's not visible, it's collecting it within this polymer, and the polymer itself, the whole reaction, pushes the visible light to the edges of the plate of the piece of plastic there, and then you can use that visible light as energy. Now, they do say that a small piece, a square meter, sorry, less than a half of a square meter, I believe it can power up to 5 cell phones and recharge up to 5 cell phones. There's a great little video. We encourage you to take a look at it. That's the kind of stories we believe in here on the Good News and on New Thought Media Network. How do we create something that we had never thought of? And part of that is being aware of our natural surroundings. We are part of nature. And you will also hear us talk a lot. We must be willing to look at Earth from a systemic and a holistic perspective. Everything counts and everything is important. Our next story highlights that in a great way. Researchers at Boston University found that trees and soil on the edge of a forest are taking in and storing more carbon dioxide than previously thought. Now, if you're of my age or anywhere around it, you might remember, right? We're taught and brought up and raised to remember that trees and plants, they take in the carbon and the carbon dioxide and give us oxygen to breathe. We breathe in the oxygen, breathe out the carbon dioxide. We make it into a simplistic and even trade. Well, that's not really what's happening. And in the middle of the forest, so it turns out in the middle of the forest, the trees don't grow quite as quickly or as tall, and therefore they don't capture as much of that carbon. The trees on the edge capture more carbon because trees on the edge of a forest grow more quickly and taller. Now, this is a pretty good thing because the majority of our forests have been cut and segmented across the planet, have been cut into squares and shapes and segmented. So there's a lot of forest edge on the planet versus deep forest. Now, it's kind of interesting because the soil, however, which contains all kinds of bacteria, fungi, roots, microorganisms, is acting differently because the soil at the edge is heated more, and so it doesn't grow as well, and so it doesn't hold the carbon as well, and it actually emits more carbon than what's happening in the middle of the forest. So the middle of the forest doesn't contain or capture as much carbon, but it also holds the carbon that it has better. The edges capture more because of the tall growth, but it also gives back some because of the heat and the fact that it's on the edge. Wild stuff. Planet Earth. How cool is all of this? I think it's one of the craziest things I've heard in a long, long time, but it makes sense. And what we know is we are all part of this oneness. And that's where it's important to remember that we are working together to bring forward a world that works for all. I'm Rev Robert. This is the Good News here on the New Thought Media Network. We're going to take a quick break so I can grab a quick drink of water and let you know a little bit about some of the things that are happening here around the network. Give us a minute. We'll be right back with more on the Good News. And we're back with more of the good news here on New Thought Media Network. Reverend Robert with you here on a Friday evening, sharing some of those good news stories. All right, next story up. I love this one because this is just like the no worries about this. A church in Grimsby, England, had their clock stopped at 12:02 about 12 years ago. As you could read by the headline there, they'd been given repair bills upwards of $56,000. And a young man, Jay Foley, and a cheesemaker, Rick Hayward, 47, decided they wanted to take a look at the clock before the church spent $60,000. The funny part is they recognized that there were some dead pigeons that had been gotten into the gearing and the bearings. Many of the bearings were just bone dry and heated beyond belief. They did some work, went and grabbed a can of WD 40. Wouldn't you know it, folks? WD 40, it'll solve everything. Can of WD 40 and a little bit of elbow grease, and the two men got the clock fixed and working again. I do believe they've had to do a little more work to it over to continue, but some dead pigeons and some gearing, and all the experts said it would be between $40,000 and $60,000 to fix the clock. Congratulations, man! I think this is a great story, and I love how this stuff happens. And, folks, no matter where we are in the world, uh, ingenuity, taking another second look, and doing what is right. Now, there are a lot of ways in this world to create something good in people's lives. Over many years now, I think I would trust many of us have heard the concept of random acts of kindness. And recently, an American actress, Jennifer Gardner, has been on a kick of doing a number of different random acts of kindness. And what I'd like to do is just share with you that there are countless ways for you to do that as well. Recently, she's been featured in the news for offering gift bag, little baggies with socks and some toothpaste and a toothbrush. There are, I'm sure, in these times, you are probably seeing in your communities people that could use a little support. I personally love to go to the supermarket and pick up a handful of $5 gift cards for the gift for the supermarket, and that way, when if I see somebody that feels I want to be generous, I can hand them a gift card and know that they're going to go get something to eat, or uh, buy somebody the classic, buy somebody in line behind you their meal, or pay for the person behind you in the drive-through. I recently had that happen on a trip with my children, and drove up to the drive-through, and they said the guy behind in front of me had already paid. And, all right, thank you. And there's so many ways we can be involved, and now more than ever, I know it's important each one of us steps up and does what we can. Sometimes that takes on a deeper meaning and a more heartfelt meaning. And this next story is about a man who's gone places I don't know that everybody could. David Challen has led a campaign to free his mother, Sally, from prison. Now, the thing is, Sally lived in England and was uh, was abused mentally by her husband for many, many years, for decades. And along the way, Sally did the unthinkable and killed her husband. Well, some would call her a cold-blooded killer. Some have defended her. Regardless, what scientists and workers have and people have understood is that Sally was experiencing what is now known as coercive control. And um, through this experience, David has been able to argue and now pass legislation that identifies coercive control as a criminal offense, and was able to gain his mother a retrial, at which time she was convicted of manslaughter rather than first degree murder. That happened in 2019. She was released from prison shortly thereafter in 2019 for time served. More importantly, David's been able to uh, to really step forward and lead. And he says men have to engage with ending male violence because it is committed by men. That's not to say all men are guilty of violence, but if you're not speaking out against misogyny when it happens in your workplace or among your friends, then you're complicit in it. Congratulations, David. Thank you for doing the hard work. Uh, and it, it, it's uh, it's important that he do this work, and we want to call him in to the good and say thank you for the work he's doing. Our next story here comes from kids, and I love this one. Now, I heard about this and I had to try it. It's called Pep Talk. Pep Talk. Pep Talk. You get the meaning there, right? And it's an art project by the Westside Elementary School in Harrodsburg, California. A couple of teachers, Jessica Martin and Ashara Weiss, had an idea. And the idea is you can call into a phone number. It's not a toll free number yet, but I got a feeling this is coming because currently this is just a community art project. There's no mention of when this may end. It could end tomorrow. It started on February 26th. They launched this phone number. There it is, 707-998-8410. You call the phone number and you hear a kid's voice saying, if you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, hit 1. Hit 2 if you'd like encouragement and life advice. Hit number 3 if you'd like a pep talk from kindergartners, and hit 4 if you'd like to hear kids laughing with delight. If you're Spanish speaking, you can hit 5 and get a message in Spanish as well. I've tried it a couple of times. I haven't worked through all of the options yet, but I will tell you it's fun and it's great to hear some kids telling you, reminding you how incredibly cool and important and amazing you are. It really is a pep talk at any time of the day. And as I read this story and I was looking at it, I was reminded, oh my gosh, a great friend of mine out at CSL Philly, he's got a thing that he does called God Calls. Now, we'll put the link here in the chat for you as well. God calls are so much fun. They're random phone calls that he said that are automated, and you get the phone call. You never know when it's going to happen. A couple times a week, and it only happens in during business hours, so they're not coming at weird times like that. And you get a phone call from God, and it's a great little reminder and short, less than a minute, reminder of who you are and how important you are on the in the world. So if you want to hear from the kids, call the pep talk. If you'd rather hear an adult voice remind you, then by all means sign up for God Calls. That is a subscription service, by the way, just to let you know. And no, we don't get a kickback on it. Although I think I might have to talk to Reverend Bill about that, especially if we increase his numbers. But check it out, folks, and there is a free trial, so you can try it out before you decide whether you'd like to be sign up for it or not. So check that out. All right. Our next great story this evening comes to us from New Jersey. This is one of those, oh, how lucky, how good does it get? How good can life get? A man and a wife, a couple went out to dinner to celebrate their anniversary. Michael and Maria Spressler went to one of their favorite restaurants, actually, in Cape May, and they're known there. They're locals there, and Michael bit into a clam. He orders a dozen of clams on the half shell whenever he's in, and bit into a clam and found a pearl. Now look at that, folks. Look at the picture of that next to a dime there. It's reported this could be worth several tens of thousands of dollars, and he and his wife said, "Nah, they're going to do something with it and mount it." And what a great, you hear of story, it's like, oh yes, isn't that a fairy tale? But here it is, it happens. And I also know this happens. My wife bit into an oyster in Washington State a number of years ago and found a pearl, very, 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 very tiny pearl. Barely knew what it was. but it was definitely hard, and we still have it. And so the mystery of life is upon us, and at any time we're open to being able to find that mystery. All right, we've got a few more minutes left. I want to share just a couple more stories with you here tonight before we wrap this up. This next one is one of those ones that, yeah, it takes a while. This all got started back in 2007. I know, sounds like decades ago. Uh, it's only a little decade and a half. But a Canadian millionaire decided to have Keith Owen was his name. And wanted to do something with his money and had over 100,000 daffodils planted. So spring is in the air because these daffodils are starting to bloom. And now, as daffodils do, they bloom and they bloom annually. And there's some great pictures here of the daffodils blooming. This is all happening. Now, Mr. Owen did die in 2000, at the end of 2007. So they got this started right before he made his transition. He served in the British Armed Forces, was later stationed and lived in Canada for a long, long time. And you can, whoop, there it is. I forget. I'm sorry. I've lost the name of the town where this happened. So we'll leave the links. You can find this story over on the Good News Network as well. All right, before we wrap up tonight, it's time for our hero of the day, hero of the month, hero of the week, hero of the day, of the year, perhaps. This is 24-year-old Officer Tyler Deason. He was on a shift recently, wrapping up an early Sunday morning. And so overnight Saturday into Sunday morning, heard of a call for a fire with a child entrapped inside. Took him about 10 to 20 to 30 seconds to get out of his car and into the building. Did not, with no care for his own life, ran into the building, found the child and brought him out. He does have some burns. There's the young man. We don't have his name here, but that's the young child. And he had sustained minor burns and a little bit of smoke inhalation. However, our young officer there, Tyler, saved this child's life. Congratulations, sir. Kudos to you. Thank you for being one of the good people on the planet and creating the good news that we get to share with you here on New Thought Media Network. Hey, folks, we do want to also say thank you to all of those that make this network possible, our sponsors, our individual committed donors, everybody that's a part of New Thought Media Network. If you would, don't run away. Give us one more minute to say thank you to our donors and sponsors.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Ohm Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes. Thank you to all of our committed donors. If you'd like to become one of our sponsoring donors, please head on over to the website ntmedia.org. And if you have a good news story you'd like us to share, let us know. goodnews@ntmedia.org. Send us an email. Let us know about a good news story you'd like us to cover, or perhaps you'd like to come on air and share it with us. We'd be happy to bring you into the studio and share your good news story with the world as well. All right, dear ones, I'm Rev Briz. I'm going to get out of here for now. This has been another edition to Good News here on the New Thought Media Network. Join us tomorrow morning for early morning prayers, 8:15 a.m. Mountain Time, and our Saturday morning Science of Mind and Spirit conversation series starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow's a great conversation with a dear friend, Reverend Muwada Razuli. Reverend Muwada Razuli from the San Francisco Center for Spiritual Living will be with us at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Until then, peace.